Welcome to Wisdom on Wheels. Today we will be getting to know Metropolitan Constantine of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America.
Thank you, Your Eminence, for joining us today on another episode of Wisdom on Wheels. I've known you since you were a priest in Baltimore, and I'm really grateful that you're willing to do this and willing to share your story with the world.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to my new home here in Denver.
Yes.
And especially here to the great metropolis of Denver.
Yes, it's beautiful. I've had the pleasure of touring the metropolis the last couple of days and meeting with the Pan-Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood.
Wonderful.
And now that you're out here in Denver, your diocese is spread over a long distance, covering a number of states. There's different cultural realities, and I'm just wondering, how do you minister to your people given the magnitude of your metropolis?
So traveling is a normal experience every weekend. In fact, most of the time it's like every other day at the airport, traveling off to another destination. The metropolis of Denver is the largest geographical area within the Archdiocese of America. So there are cultural differences from Montana to Texas. There are tremendous differences aside from the topography, also within the culture of the region. Being part and entrenched within the life of these parishes has been such a beautiful experience for myself. You know, in my own mind, I've treated it as a pilgrimage to be able to go to some of our larger parishes and some of our other parishes that have maybe 15 or 20 faithful that are doing their best to keep the church alive and thriving.
It's amazing. So until recently, you spent most of your time in Baltimore, and I was just wondering, what are your fondest memories growing up in Baltimore, and what are some of the most impactful experiences you had growing up as a child and even as an adult and whatever else?
It's a little unusual because I served as the parish priest there for almost 28 years and the priest-dominor for a number of years as well. And it was an incredible experience being raised by that community. They were exceptional people that just had a tremendous amount of love for serving the church. And my fondest memories, of course, of my entire life will always be there. Growing up, our lives revolved around the church schedule. So my mother would receive and my father would receive the church schedule. Everything, extra activities would go around what was taking place, whether it was services or Goya activities. Youth activities, excursions, whatever it may be, everything revolved around what was taking place within the life of the community.
I actually had an impactful experience there as well. When I visited you, they were doing the Philoptos was hosting, it was like I don't know what you would call it, kind of like a garage sale, but not a garage sale. It was much more like a department store than that. Can you tell us a little bit about programs you had at your parish?
So Philoptos on an annual basis it was a flea market. It became one of the largest flea markets within the city of Baltimore. Our parishioners would downsize, move into condominiums. Unfortunately, deaths would occur and people would remove things from their folks' homes, or it was just time to change things out. So it started mainly for college students that were going to the university in the neighborhood. So things that were offered for sale, these young people would be able to purchase and to buy. And then from there, they would be able to use them within their apartments. Over the years, that has generated hundreds of thousands of dollars that has benefited the ministries for the Philoptos and for their good works in which they do. One of the sterling ministries that our community had, we had all the other ministries with Goya, Joy Hope, the Altar Boys, Sunday School, Greek School, all the other basic ministries. It was the only adult daycare center within the city of Baltimore, and especially within the context of a Christian church. So unfortunately, during COVID, we had to close it down. And in the years ahead, or the time ahead, I pray that it reopens again because it was such an incredible ministry that allowed our senior citizens to come down to be part of church life in which they missed. It gave families an opportunity to not have to worry about putting a parent in a nursing home. So during the day, they would remain with us until about 4 p.m, and then we would send them home. And we had buses, we had even an old funeral home limousine that we would use, and other cars that we would use to kind of transport them around. So it was such a wonderful experience to hear these old stories, how the family members came over from Greece or from other parts of the world, and with the establishment of the community, hearing from them as children, and that second generation of family members that were there were part of that community in Baltimore. Wow,
that's an amazing ministry. You've been a member of the Assembly of Bishops for a couple of years now. I think you attended your second meeting this past fall. And Denver's actually hosting the 2025 Assembly of Bishops. What does a unified Orthodox Christian Church in this country look like to you?
We're unified already through the chalice, and that's a realization, of course, that takes place. Administratively is another situation, but at least through the chalice and through prayer, we're unified with that. For us as the assembly to be able to come here to Denver, to our city here in Denver and to Colorado, and to experience something that most people don't experience. This region is an area that is not as explored as other places. And it will give them a different flavor, if you will, of orthodoxy to see things. There are some of our parishes that some of our priests will come from to be able to come and to witness and to see what's taking place when the assembly comes here to Denver, that are from very rustic parishes and are very orthodox in flavor, very orthodox in understanding, very orthodox in everything else, but somewhat in rustic areas, not coming from large cities. Mm-hmm. So we'll give the assembly an opportunity to witness and to see, what's taking place with orthodoxy here within the context of the United States.
Absolutely. Having spent most of the day yesterday with the clergy brotherhood in this area, I know they're very excited, and I'm really excited to get to see that and experience that alongside, of course, all of the hierarchs. Who was or is the most inspirational person in your life?
That's a really difficult question, dear Father Nicholas. So
I know.
My parents were exceptional Christian people. My mother and my father, just very devout, faithful people. I was honored to be their son. I lost both of them in 2010, and it's been a great void, and I miss them tremendously. The other was the parish priest that I grew up with, Father Constantine Munoz, was the priest who raised me. He was the parish priest in Baltimore, the one that I succeeded for 27 years. Just an exceptional man of faith that loves serving the church.
As they say, it takes a village, and it seems like you had a really great village around you.
I had a great village around me, and I've got a great village now, too.
It's amazing. What does your average day look like from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed?
From the time I wake up, offering prayers and thanking God for the day that's ahead. A coffee is very important, and a good strong cup of coffee is very important, if not numerous ones to follow. And then the day begins before I leave my house, to see what things need to be taken care of with answering emails or text messages from the day before or the night before. My day is pretty much scheduled out. If it's at the Metropolis, it could be meetings, paperwork, whatever the things need to take care of, or other preparations for travel. It also depends if there's something else that's going on, because the Metropolis Center is located on the same grounds of the cathedral. Whatever things are taking place within both areas. If there's a place that needs my attention, then I do my best, of course, to be there.
That's amazing. Sounds like a fully packed day. And you mentioned you really enjoy coffee. Is there a particular style or roast, or what's your favorite coffee?
The darker the roast, the better. If I can see the bottom of the cup, it is not enjoyable to me. So I prefer very dark roast coffee. One of my trips to Nebraska, they had made ranch coffee for me, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And the thought pattern behind that is you don't need to have 3 or 4 cups. One will do it. So very, very strong.
Nice. If you could have coffee with any saint, who would it be and why?
I think if I could have coffee with any of the saints, because he was a modern day saint, and there's so many people that have had the opportunity to meet him, would be Saint Paisios, of course. Other saints would be Saint Dionysius of Zakynthos, Saint Nectarios, Mother Maria of Paris, just a number of saints. Just 2 minutes of their time would be a wonderful experience.
And what would you ask them?
How did you overcome these struggles? What sort of things did you do? What brought you to where you are right now? The lives they led were just incredible. Very simple people, but just made such an impactful difference in everyone's lives.
Mm-hmm. Did you always dream of being a cleric, or did you have other aspirations as a young child, or other dreams, other professions you were thinking about?
From the time I was 9 years old, that's the earliest memory that I have of wanting or talking about being a priest. I've always had that notion, if you will, that prayer, that would be something. Serving the church was always important to me. From the time I was 9 years old, I still remember the parish priest, Father Constantine, because I had such a late birthday and all my schoolmates from Sunday school were already in the altar. He allowed me to come in a year early because 10 years old was the cutoff because the church was so large. So I've always been very grateful for that, and I can't imagine doing anything else. I've always been very happy serving. My happiness was always at a parish priest, and great joy right now serving as the Metropolitan for Denver.
That's great. So 9 years old, you got your call, and you answered that call, never looked back.
No, never looked back. I still remember sitting there with my father, who had a big smile on his face, and he goes, most kids at 9 want to be a fireman or a policeman or something else. I said, I really want to be a priest. So we still I still remember that, sitting at the table and talking about that.
That's amazing. What are your hobbies?
Hobbies, I enjoy reading. I enjoy thoroughly cooking. One of my other hobbies is I have an ATV that was gifted to me from my parish. The house that I had back in Baltimore had a very long driveway, and it had a snowplow in front of it. And so now living here in Denver is probably one of the best gifts that I received, because it's used constantly because it snows here a lot. But I've also taken it on the back roads here in Denver, in
Oh,
Colorado. I've trailered it, and I've thoroughly enjoyed that time. Being able to see the wilderness, having the opportunity also to go on hikes, and to spend time here. So there's a lot of things. There's so much stuff to do here in this area.
you mentioned you enjoy cooking. What's your favorite dish to prepare?
It could be anything. I like being on the grill. So that's one of my favorite things. This is cattle country out here, so steaks are top on the list. During the Lenten seasons, there's plenty of things that you can grill and still get that feeling that you've had something from the outside.
Absolutely. And I remember back in Baltimore a few years back, just before you were elected, you had a number of us over to your house in Baltimore, and some of the best grilled food I've ever had. What's your favorite movie or TV show, or both?
One of my favorite movies, I mean, there's a lot of the religious movies. The Sanctitatius movie, of course, is top of the list. There are other secular movies that are out there that I enjoy. One was filmed back in the 1950s. It's called Friendly Persuasion, and it's a movie that takes place during the Civil War, and it talks about the experience of what it means to be an American. It also gives that understanding as to what it means to live in an isolated area and to be able to fight for freedom, if you will. So it's a very inspiring movie to me. There's a good amount of humor that takes place there too, which I also enjoy. Books, I enjoy reading books. Obviously, the Lives of the Saints, books like that I enjoy. But I also enjoy biographies, and to see, how people led their lives. And it could be about American presidents. It could be about really just anything. I enjoy seeing those biographies that are taking place, and family histories I like seeing. Living out west and living in this area, a number of our families have shared with me their own family history books, and it's fascinating to me how they came out here, because it talks about how these family members weren't afraid to take that chance, if you will, to come out here, work on the railroad, the mines, and other on the cattlemen and ranches and other things like that, and to come out here. And the first thing that they did was to establish a church, a place where they would come to worship. So I thoroughly enjoy reading those beautiful stories of these people.
And what's your favorite vacation?
My favorite vacation, our family we've always lived in Baltimore. My mother's from Mobile, Alabama, and my brother, blessed memory, lived there also with his family. So the Gulf Coast and that area is one of my favorite vacation areas. Of course, going to Greece is exceptional to be able to see those things. And also just very, small places you would never imagine, like Hot Springs, Arkansas is a very enjoyable place. We have a family, Kumbadi, that live there. And California, there's other beautiful places, Texas, other places that we have an opportunity to see.
That's awesome. I don't think I've ever been to Arkansas, but I'd love to visit one day.
It's a great place to go.
What's your greatest fear?
My greatest fear is, so it's a couple of things. The first one is letting people down. So the expectation is very, very high. And I always want to make sure that it's not a matter of just being, not to be appeasing to people, but always to make the right decision. Do everything with prayer, not to let people down, be not forceful, but very faithful in decision-making processes. With all the flying and everything else, that's always a question that people ask, are you afraid and everything else? And I have to say, it hasn't bothered me at all. If you've ever landed in Denver, it is like a roller coaster by the time the plane hits the ground. Well, lands on the ground, not hits the ground. But it's, it's just part of the way things are.
Absolutely. And what brings you the most joy?
Being with our faithful people, being with our young people. This past weekend was our ski conference that took place. I've never experienced things like that. Even though we had skiing out east, it pales in comparison to things out here. But it was such a wonderful experience, and to see these young people to ask such questions, to share their stories, to be in a safe area where they could share what was going on in their own lives, but also that experience of just all of us being together in worship. I have to brag a little bit. We had liturgy, and we had just very close to 100% of our young people that came to Divine Liturgy on time.
Wow. That's impressive.
It is impressive. It speaks volumes about these people, these young folks.
Absolutely.
Other things, just sitting in conversation like we are right now, having a good, conversation with somebody over a cup of coffee, going to our parishes, being able to spend time with our faithful people to hear their stories, hear what's going on within their own lives. Even though I'm not a parish priest, as I was back in Baltimore, I still miss, hospital calls, these other things that take place. And I still have that opportunity to be with that, but just on a different level right now.
Sounds like regardless of the context, just being in relationship with others, being near others brings you the most joy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What is your favorite animal?
I've always had dogs or cats. In fact, my cat moved with me, drove with me out from from Baltimore to Denver. Sat on the armrest for pretty much most of the time, just to kind of monitor and to make sure to see. So just a very good company. There were a few other people traveling in the car with me to kind of help with the driving. Just a very good companion to have. A zoo animal that always fascinates me is a giraffe. I just love seeing those. There's just such an elegance that goes with them.
When you enter the Metropolis Center, in mural form, they tell the story of the Christians of this area, especially being the Greek Orthodox metropolis, the Greek immigrants in the area. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, how the Orthodox came to Denver and a little bit about that mural?
The murals that are in there are panels that are, as soon as you enter into the Metropolis Center, His Eminence Metropolitan Isaiah, they one time of Denver, now of Lystra, had the vision to place those murals inside of the Metropolis Center so that people had an understanding what it was like for the Greeks, if you will, or even Christians to come for the Western experience. When the Greeks came over and coming here to Denver and other parts too, they did similar things like they would do back east or out west or anywhere else, opening restaurants, pizza places, other establishments, marketplaces and everything else. But that experience and those murals that you see, and in fact on one of them St. Tikhon is on there because he established one of our parishes in Pueblo, Colorado. So there are just these exceptional things that our people have done. And His Eminence Metropolitan Isaiah was very strong about preserving history and to make sure that people had a knowledge as to what took place to bring them out here.
Absolutely. You mentioned St. Tikhon, and I know, for those who don't know, he was here in America, but ultimately became Patriarch of Moscow. And I know he started a number of parishes out here. So it's just an amazing saint of the church that had a lot of influence in this area and throughout the entire country.
Absolutely. Our Church of St. John the Baptist it's not too far away from one of the Osea parishes. When you walk inside, you can feel the history the second you walk inside of the door. It's a beautiful place to be. You look around at the dates that are there dating back to the early 1900s and seeing these things that took place. And people established these churches in cities that you would never imagine. And it's such an experience to see that and to be part of that and to lead our people in prayer and to follow them in prayer and to do all these other things.
The last question I'll just ask is if there's anything else you want to share.
Father Nicholas, it's always a joy to be part of things. Being able to travel and to see what is taking place within the metropolis, within the archdiocese and other places, it just brings a tremendous amount of happiness, but also brings a good amount of responsibility that we have in making sure that we follow what it means to be an Orthodox Christian living here in the United States, but also that constant reminder, even if just basically what it means to be a Christian. And so I'm grateful to be part of this interview. This Wisdom on Wheels. I don't know how much wisdom I'm able to share or anything like that, but it brings a tremendous amount of honor, if you will, for myself to be part and to witness and to see and to experience this with you as well.
Thank you, Your Eminence, and thank you again for coming on the show. And I look forward to continuing to work together as we strive for Orthodox Christian unity in the United States of America.
Absolutely. God bless everything that's taking place.